Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here. Got Stacy with me.
Hello.
Hey, I wanted to look at something. We just finished up one class, but there was one class that I wanted to talk about. There was one chapter that I want to talk about. That's chapter 54. There's a section in it called the struggle against spiritualization, or the struggle against spiritualism. Now, we've been posting a lot of classes on our channel lately. Been getting a lot of feedback from a lot of individuals who are starting to understand that the rapture story is not quite as what they're understanding it. So you can imagine some of the pushback that we're getting. But I wanted to bring this part out because I think that, this is what a lot of people are going through, and that's the struggle against spiritualism.
So they don't want to be spiritualized.
They don't want to be spiritualized. And so a lot of the individuals who are pushing back is because they're resisting the idea of becoming spiritualized.
I wonder why.
Well, you know why. We read about it in all throughout the New Testament, the Third Testament of the Bible, how materialism is the dominance.
Yeah, they don't want to give up that stuff.
They don't want to give up their stuff. They want to continue in with their stuff. And being spiritual individuals is the opposite of being materialistic.
Yeah, to be spiritualized, you got to get rid of that stuff. Those two just don't connect. The ministers of these times adorn themselves royally to officiate symbolically all the sacrifice of Jesus. But in spite of the fact that they claim my name and my representation, I find their minds disturbed, their hearts scourged by the winds of intrigues and passions.
Yeah, so these individuals, so we read about these individuals a lot, especially over in books like Jeremiah chapter 14. These are individuals who are standing before our churches today, all beautied up in all of their grandeur. They got the long robes on, the big Jesus pieces is on, and they have the choir behind them and all of this stuff. They basically look like royalty. A lot of them even dressed in purple or whatever. And so they're the officials over the church. But what does he say? But in spite of the fact that they claim my name and my representation, I find their minds disturbed, their hearts scourged by the winds of intrigues and passions.
Yeah. There is not one who, like a prophet, proclaims that I am among the men of this time.
Well, let me be like John the Baptist, and say that he is amongst us now. The Father is with us now. We just have to recognize that he's there.
They shall feel great bitterness, for there is no spiritual preparation among them.
Yeah, so this is talking about the tribulation and how these guys have a lot to go through during the tribulation because they haven't bothered to prepare themselves. And when the Third Testament talks about preparation, it's talking about the law.
Yeah, you have to, it's not just something you can pick up today and know it.
No.
You have to be prepared. You have to practice and learn it.
Yeah, that reminds me of the parable of the 10 virgins there. There was 5 virgins who were prepared, and there was 5 virgins who were not prepared. The 5 virgins that were not prepared, they didn't have the oil, they didn't have the law. And that's what the other ones told them, is you have to go back and you have to now learn the law so that you can come into this marriage supper. But that a lot of these individuals standing down here officiating over these churches, they're only doing it symbolically, and they're going to find themselves with a lack of that oil or a lack of that preparation, and therein is what's going to come this great bitterness that they're talking about.
Where is the compliance of those who swore before Jesus to follow in his footsteps?
Yeah, so you remember how the Messiah was. One of the first things that he said was he didn't come to destroy the law, he came to fulfill the law. But yet our church officials are they're coming up with ways on how we don't have to keep the law.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the main reason why you go to church nowadays, is to find out how you can be outside of the compliance of the law, talking about the book of the covenant over there, and still so-called be saved.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, saved from what?
Where are the imitators of my apostles? Are there none who are like John, who was among the first, or Paul, who was of the later?
Yeah, so they're not imitating these guys at all. If you remember how they acted there in the book of Acts, how after the Messiah had went away and they started these churches, they went from individual to individual. What were they doing? They were healing, they were blessing, they were teaching, and all of that. And you say, well, the guys down at the church, they aren't really carrying on in this manner. Instead of them coming out to us, the common man, and teaching us, they expect us to come to them. Mm-hmm. Instead of them bringing us stuff, they expect us to bring them stuff. Right? Instead of, like I said before, instead of them teaching the law, they're actually teaching us against the law.
Yeah, they're telling us now that, they've always told us that the law is no longer valid, that we don't have to live under the law anymore.
So they're not imitating Paul, because that's not what Paul taught. That's not what John the Baptist taught. Those guys were teaching righteousness. They were teaching obedience to the law.
24. That is why the Master comes again to renew this lesson to you. I see already the new Pharisees and scribes, full of hatred, throwing themselves at me. That shall be when I ask, where are my disciples?
Yeah, so we have this war of the doctrines going on now, where there's a lot of infighting in the church on whether or not we should be obedient to the law, whether we should be keeping this up. Well, a lot of these guys are taking the roles of these Pharisees and the scribes of the old times, where, remember, they didn't recognize the Messiah when he came. Mm-hmm. They were supposedly waiting for him, but when he showed up, they rejected him and said, no, that ain't what we were expecting. We want something else. And then, they ended up putting him on the cross because they wanted something else.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's going on today, especially in this third testament of the Bible, the third era, where, these guys are waiting for the second coming of the Messiah. But again, they aren't waiting for the word to be materialized. They're waiting for something more grand. They're waiting for something more spectacular. They're waiting for the sky to crack and, and these white horses to run across, the sky or whatever. So when they see the Father coming in the form of the word, like he did in the second era, or the word like he did in the first era back there with Moses, they are rejecting him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're waiting to see something. They're waiting to see something spectacular.
Materialistic. They're materialistic beings, and so they are not recognizing that he's coming spiritually. This is a spiritual manifestation of the Father, and because they're waiting for something materialistic, they are rejecting it.
Yeah, they're going to miss it. And when those who are arrogant, those who are fraudulent, those of the rich that fear to lose their power, and those threatened by my truth, mock and persecute me, hurricane winds shall blow, and it shall not be I who fall beneath the weight of the cross, but they who ask that he who gave them life be sacrificed.
Hurricanes. And, we're not judgmental on who's going to actually get these hurricanes, but we will be able to look back after the fact. When this struggle is over and people are trying to decide, who's winning in the battle. Well, look at who's getting swept away by these hurricane winds. That's how you're going to know, it's by who's actually being blown away.
Yeah, well, the only reason that they mock and persecute people is because you're saying something that they don't like, and what you're saying is you have to get rid of this materialism in order to become spiritualized.
Yeah, and they don't want to get rid of their stuff. There's a lot of people who would rather have their stuff over the Messiah any day.
25. At the injustice of men, the wave of materialism shall rise up like an angry sea, a sea of pains, desperation, and anguish.
Yep, talking about this materialism, because when you're not a spiritual being, materialism seems like that's all there is. Your house, your car, your clothes, your money, your refrigerators, that seems like that's all there is. It doesn't make sense. Anything spiritual really doesn't make sense to a materialistic person.
Right. Only one vessel shall float over the sea of passions, greed, and human hatred. That ship will be my law. Happy will be those who are strong when that time comes.
Yeah. So, and you remember that the law, like we learned over there in the New Testament of the Bible, the law is our schoolmaster. And so we are like the children of Israel that have come out of Egypt. We have to have this schoolmaster in order to teach us how to become spiritualized individuals. You basically, how it works is, okay, you find yourself as an individual who don't know nothing from nothing. And you don't recognize your conscience, you don't know anything about the law, you don't know anything about spiritualization. Well, once you start to embrace the law and make that a part of your life, you start to clean up different areas in your life, you start to become closer to the Father, you start moving some of those blockades that are keeping you from the Father's presence. And the more you do that, the more you become spiritualized. And so that's why it talks about this ship that's going to float over, is because those who are embracing the law are going to be the first ones that's going to be spiritualized. And that's the only way we're going to survive these flood waters, what to say, passions, greed, and hatred. That's the only way that we're going to be able to survive, is if we have help from the spirit world. We have to have angelic help to survive. If you think about it, you got nuclear bombs falling out of the sky, you got earthquakes, you got tornadoes. How are you gonna know which way to run? You don't know which way to run. You don't. If somebody told you now that a nuclear bomb was coming to your area, you don't know. You're gonna jump in your car. You don't know which way you need to drive to miss this thing. You're gonna have angelic help to do so, and the only way you're gonna get that angelic help is through by being spiritualized individuals. And the only way you're going to become spiritualized is if you are embracing the law, if you are obedient to the law. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, because being spiritualized, now you're able to do the spirit-to-spirit communication with the Father.
Yeah.
You're able to call down or go before the Father and request that He send you help.
Yeah.
Come down and aid and assist you. With spiritualization, you learn how to pray. You learn how to go before the Father and things of that nature. So yeah, you're going to have to be spiritualized.
And don't forget that you open up the communication pathways where He's able to communicate with you by way of dreams, by way of forethought. What are some of the other ways that He communicates with us? Visions.
Yeah. Clairvoyance.
And through our conscience. There's several ways that he wants to communicate to us, but if we're not spiritual beings, we actually block all of that stuff out.
Yep. Woe to those who slumber then. Woe to the weak. Woe to the people who have built their faith on foundations of religious fanaticism, for they shall be easy prey for the furious waves.
So, talking about the Reverend Pastor Deacon Dr. Doug here, that's fanaticism, is he believes that his church is the only church that's going to survive. He believes that the way he's doing stuff is the only thing that is legitimate, and he's rejecting the truth. Like Romans 10 says, "Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God." So that's fanaticism. They're creating their own type of religion. But what does it say here? These are going to be they're going to be the easy prey for the furious waves.
Yep.
They're going to be the first ones swept away, and these storms is coming.
Right. 28. Do you not foresee the battle, humanity? Does my word not move you to prepare to defend yourselves when the time comes?
And the scripture talks about how it is because they have not studied the prophecies of the Old Testament and the New Testament that they're not recognizing what's coming upon them. They're sleeping. And then you add that to the fact that they are believing that they're going to be called away supernaturally, making them think that they don't even have to pay attention to anything. That's what's going on here. We got one individual on our channel keeps posting these prayers talking about the only thing you have to do to be locked in to being saved is to say this prayer that basically says please forgive me. It doesn't even have anything to do with becoming obedient to the law, and he believes that's all he have to do is to say that prayer and he's going to be saved. But like I said, I'm waiting for the answer. Saved from what? What are you talking about? You know, the law is the only way you're going to survive this thing. So you must have a different definition of being saved, because my definition of being saved is you're saved from these furious waves of this tribulation, and you will actually be here to inherit the earth after it's all said and done. I believe they created their own definition of saved.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it doesn't have anything to do with actually being down here on this planet after this war is over.
Yeah. 29 says, my light is in all, but only those who pray and prepare can see it. My light speaks through presentiments, through inspiration, intuition, and through dreams and warnings. Yet you are indifferent to all the signs from the divine.
Yeah. So, you know, this is important. Like we said, the Holy Spirit is in all. But in order to embrace this Spirit, in order to take advantage of this Spirit, in order to be able to hear from this Spirit, you have to be prepared. Even though it's there, if you're not prepared, you cannot see this. You can't take advantage of it. But then down here, look where it says, my light speaks through presentiments, through inspiration, intuition, and through dreams and warnings. This is what I was trying to think about earlier. This is how he communicates to us. And so when we're trying to survive some of these events that's going to go on during the tribulation, we're talking about earthquakes, we're talking about meteor showers, we're talking about famines and plagues, we're talking about a lot of different stuff that's going to kill a lot of different people. If you truly want to be saved, those who are actually going to be here after it's said and done, you're going to have his help. And the way he helps is through presentiments, through inspiration, intuition, and through dreams and warnings.
And you have to be spiritualized in order to have these things.
Yeah, you have to be spiritual beings in order to do this. If you're not spiritualized, you're not going to hear from him. You're not going to have any dreams. You're not going to have any forethought. You're not going to have any inspirations or anything. It's what I'm saying seems alien to you.
Yeah. Well, you can have dreams, but they're not going to be dreams backed up by the Father? Or?
I don't know. Let's ask them. Are you having dreams? If you're not a spiritualized individual, are you having dreams at all? I don't believe they're having dreams at all, because we did a class not too long ago about dreams. Dreams are the communication from the Father to our spirit.
Right.
And you know, if they aren't spiritualized, then that communication pathway is cut off, and you know, they may not be having dreams at all.
30. Soon you shall see my word redeemed, and give witness that it contains truth.
Yeah, talking about the Third Testament of the Bible, talking about all of the prophecies from the Old Testament and all of that. You're going to see all of this redeemed, meaning you're going to see it manifest itself to where even the non-believers, those Gentiles out there, will actually start to believe or start to understand that it's true. The only problem with that is it's going to hurt a little bit. You know, it's going to take a little bit of pain to believe it. You know, like some people said it, there's some people who not going to believe it until they put their nose in it. Well, it's going to be pretty smelly on the end of their nose, you know, when that day comes.
31. My doctrine and my name shall be the target of all sorts of attacks and persecutions. It shall be the motive of your persecution by the enemies of truth. Yet my doctrine shall also be the sword of light of those who rise up defending the faith. And it shall be the shield behind which the innocent shall defend. My name shall be on all lips, blessed by some and cursed by others.
On all lips. This is talking about the hour of conscience. This is talking about that day when the truth comes and blazes across the sky like lightning, and everybody's going to understand the truth. See, right now there's a bunch of people running their mouth. They're saying this, they say that, they can say anything they want. But when the truth hits us, it's not going to be any way to deny it. And that's what he's talking about. He says his name is going to be on all lips.
What about that? It's talking about the my doctrine and my name shall be the target of all sorts of attacks and persecution.
Well, that's what's going on now. The truth is being blasphemed. The truth is being put away right now. The truth is being targeted right now. It's all of these people, these fanatical ministers, these people who are caught up in materialism and, you know, are trying to put out this false doctrine that we don't have to worry about the law and everything's going to be all right. These Jeremiah 14 and 14 prophets, as I like to call them, they are warring against those who are actually trying to tell the truth. Those that are trying to get the truth out, they're quick to come in and write negative comments on their videos. They're quick to come in and try to call them out in different places. But what does he say? My doctrine shall also be the sword of light to those who rise up defending my faith. Yeah, you can't touch this. You know what I mean? His doctrine, you can say what you want, you can believe what you want, and you will be able to fool the average guy. But the one who knows the scripture, you're kicking against the pricks. It ain't gonna work.
Yep. 32. All the faculties of man are unleashed. His intelligence, his sentiments, his passions, his spiritual powers are all awakened and ready for the struggle.
Yeah, again, guys, the Holy Spirit is here. It's been here since the 1800s when it fell upon mankind. And, so a lot of individuals have this spiritualization inside of them. They just have to get prepared in a way that they can hear it. But the thing about it, what does it say? The intelligence, sentiments, and passions, those are all awake in humans right now, and that's why there's a lot of people not being fooled by these false doctrines. When you go in these churches, sometimes we go around these churches, they ain't got like 5 people in there, and all but one of them is some type of minister. You got 5 people in the church. You got the pastor, the assistant pastor, the superintendent, and who else?
The deacon.
The deacon. And one little person who was the child of one of those is the only other person in the pews and that's it. They call them that church. And they wonder, and they'll sit there through the sermon and they'll say, well, I wonder why people don't come to church no more. It's because it is what it's talking about. The faculties of man are unleashed. Intelligence, sentiments, passions, spiritual powers, they are awake, and you can't fool them with this false doctrine anymore. They're not going to be tricked.
33. How much confusion there shall be then? How many there shall be who, having believed that they had faith in me, will be convinced that it was not true faith?
Yep, and so they're teaching. See, the thing is, church used to be different. It used to be where you had the pastor who would go in and he would sit under the deacons who would teach him what he was that his sermon was supposed to be about on Sunday. The pastor was not the head. The one who was preaching the message was not the head of the church. But churches have changed now where the preacher is now the head of the church. Okay, well, who's doing his studying for him? Who's telling him and giving him these messages that he's supposed to preach on Sunday? Nobody. He's just parakeeting what he's heard from other people. He goes and watches TBN all week. He writes down a few notes that he wants to talk about on Sunday, and he comes in and parakeets these messages. He comes in and repeats these messages. Well, when the truth hits them, they're going to be confused. Right? And they're going to realize that their faith or what they believed in was just not true. They should have taken the time to actually study and understand what it was that the message is, so that they can be spitting out truth, so they can be understanding truth, so that when these tribulous times come, they can actually be on the right path.
34. In many homes and hearts, the light of love and hope will be extinguished. Children and youth will have no other God but the world, and no more laws but those of the earth. Yeah,
so again, you got all of these individuals down there sitting under these Jeremiah 14:14 prophets, listening to this false message of that nothing's going to happen, they're all going to fly away and go to some other place. Well, when that truth comes across the sky like lightning, they're going to abandon all hope. It said that the entire church, talking about the Pentecostal church and the Catholic church and these other religions, the majority of those organized institutions are actually going to go into what's called the sea of apostasy, meaning they're going to just throw away the baby with the bathwater, and they're going to throw the whole faith away and just say forget it all. The Bible's going out, everything's going out, because they thought what they was teaching was correct, and now that they find out that it ain't, they're just going to get rid of it all.
35. What will happen when men realize their measureless love for the world and their worship of earthly things have led them to painful failure? They will try to find the road lost. They will search for the principles and laws that they have deviated from, and in their search, doctrines will be created, precepts consult, and philosophies, ideals, and theories shall arise.
So now they're going to try to go back and get the oil. Now that the truth has come, they realize they've been teaching a false doctrine. Now they're going to go back and try to get that oil. And by doing so, and still trying to hold on to their materialism, now they're going to create false doctrines and false precepts and all these other, crazy philosophies and all of that.
36. All of this will be the beginning of a great new battle, but not one promoted by the selfish ambitions of earthly power. There shall be none of the fratricidal arms that end lives, destroying homes and spilling human blood. This combat will be different, for it will be the great religious struggling against the new doctrines and the new religions.
So praise the Father, they ain't going to try to kill people when they realize that, a lot of this stuff has been false. Nobody's going to walk up the street with torches going after the Reverend Pastor Deacon Dr. Doug in order to burn him at the stake like they used to. Used to be a time that, if this had been going on and these people realized they was going to be lied to, man, they would have tortured the dude. But now it's going to be kind of just a lot of just talking back and forth. They're still going to get the just punishments or whatever, but praise the Father, it's not going to come by way of man's hands this time.
37. Who will triumph in that battle? No religion will be the winner in that contest. Just as the fratricidal wars you now suffer, no one people will be triumphant.
Yeah, so none of the religions are going to win. None of the people stand up and say, I'm Jehovah's Witness, or they stand up and say, I'm Episcopalian, or I stand up and they say that I am Pentecostal and we were right and everybody else was wrong. No, all of them are wrong. Every religion that there is wrong. They all have good points to them. They all have some part of their message that you can go in and get out and call it truth or whatever. It would actually be the truth, but it's only a small part of that religion. The whole religion itself is going into the sea of apostasy, whereas you might get a small part out of it that's going to be truth.
38. Over the war for material domination, my justice will rule, and later over the new battle to achieve the imposition of certain doctrines or religions, my truth shall be imposed.
That's right. So here's truth. Like I said, the truth is going to fly across the sky like a bolt of lightning. Everybody's going to see it. Everybody's going to recognize the truth at one time. And so that's what we got to look forward to. 39.
The one single truth shall flash like lightning in the night of the storm, and each one, wherever he might be, shall behold the splendor.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I keep saying that it's like lightning, because the scripture says it's like lightning. It says the truth is gonna shine like lightning across the sky, like a big flash. Everybody's gonna see it. Everybody's gonna recognize it. So whereas now we're playing crazy, all these people speaking up with all of these false doctrines and false teachings, parakeeting each other and all of that, those days are limited. The truth is coming out.
40. My message will come to all, and all will come to me. I have everything prepared for the times to come, and all shall do my will. For I am the owner of spirits and world, of races and of people.
See, this is what it's talking about when he says that we will be changed in a twinkling of an eye. This is the change here. This is the hour of consciousness that he's talking about here. This is when all of mankind is going to recognize the truth at one time. Could you imagine what that's going to be like down here? Where we had all of these fratricidal wars and all of these lies being told, and then all of a sudden the truth comes and everybody knows the truth at one time.
Yeah,
that's the change. That's what we're worrying about. That's the rapture right there. That's the caught away moment that we're talking about here. Not that we're going off to some other planet and being caught up on some cloud there. It's the spiritual cloud here that he's talking about. All right? So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there, y'all. We're running out of battery power. Anything else you want to say before we close it out?
So this is the struggle against spiritualism.
This is the struggle. It's trying to shut it down. Individuals out there trying to shut down spiritualism.
Trying to shut down the law, and by shutting down the law, you're basically shutting down spiritualism.
Basically,
because you have to have it. You have to have it. I could say that for my life. Once I start studying the law and realizing that it is valid, it is relevant for now, then I started being able to study and learn about the spirit-to-spirit communication, and thus,
We need the law.
Gotta have it.
Shalom.